Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new tutorial. Today we would be painting a simple scenery and hope you have lots of fun with me. We start with a very simple sketch and then start painting the sky. The colors used are a bit dark as I wanted a gloomy overcast sky. I started painting grey clouds while the blue was still wet. This was done so that the clouds could blend easily with the background color. And to paint the clouds I used a number 6 round hair brush, but the brush was fairly dry and there were several layers which were added for depth. Now we can use Prussian blue to make the sky look darker in certain areas, and just a tad of titanium white was used for the highlights. At any point, if you want to change the shape of the cloud or make it look wispy in some places, you can use Prussian blue along the edges and just blend that in. Next step would be to lay the background colors for the land and the foliage. The bush and the tree were painted simultaneously to save some time. While the bush was drying, I went ahead and started painting the trunk and the branches of the tree with a mix of Prussian blue and Viridian green. Highlights on the bush were added with light green and yellow. Several layers were added to make the foliage look dense and thick. Now colors like blue and brown were mostly used towards the base for shadows and to create depth. And I also did not wait for the initial layer to completely dry before adding the next layer, as this way the colors could easily blend with each other and we could create some new variations in the shades. Next I added some highlights to the tree using burnt sienna and started coloring the leaves with different shades of green. I went back and forth between the foliage and the tree as I wanted to give each some time to dry before I went ahead and added more details. After the foliage had completely dried, I went ahead and added some lemon yellow and sap green on the top half of the foliage using a dry brush technique. This was done to kind of blur it and give it a faded look. Later I brought out some of the details again using a fine brush. I wanted this painting to be slightly gloomy and dark and the sky is overcast, so this was a technique I stuck with throughout. That is, first paint something and then later paint over it using complementary colors to make it look slightly faded. The work on the hut was fairly simple. I just had to lay down the dark and the light colors, and in between I also work on the foliage and the tree as I just wanted those to dry slightly before I could add the next layer. To paint the dry grass, use a long hair brush. 000 would be a great choice. Build several layers to give it a dense look. Once it is completely dry, use golden yellow and a dry brush to give it a faded look. also start laying the colors down for the river and the bank on the opposite side. Meanwhile, the work on the grass has dried and I go back to it to add more details to it. Now this is something that I do throughout the painting, where I work upon 2 to 3 elements, and this is done just so that I can save some drying time. Next I paint the reflections, and what I do is paint it, smudge it and repaint it. This was done a couple of times, and what it does is it creates a blurred image, not very defined. At the same time you understand what the image is. Small ripples were made using a bit of white. Next I paint few cranes in flight. I draw them lightly with a pencil and then fill it with white and add the details with a mix of Prussian blue and black. I completed the landscape with more tall grass in front, and I used a lot of burnt sienna and different shades of yellow to build more layers and give it a dense look. Once it had completely dried, I used my cadmium yellow and a dry brush to give it a faded look. With this we come to the end of this tutorial. I hope you had as much fun as I had painting this. In case you have any questions or any suggestions, please feel free to write them in the comment section. If you like my content, please do remember to share, like and subscribe. Thank you.